Well, it's official. You're mine. Oh, gosh. And Amanda Testa, I cannot believe. But I want to take a moment and just drop into the body because I feel there's so much energy coming out of me already by just being in your space and by you just saying yes, by you just actually almost being so present for me that I feel a high regard and high honor for this space that almost feels sacred, almost feels also secretive, and there is a part of the privacy and intimacy by default coming in because you're mine and I can never own you. And I'm in total disbelief in my logical mind that you're actually here present with me, that you said yes, and that we happen to cross paths again. And no wonder why I have so many questions that I will never find the answers, but rather I feel my way through it. So I want to
Beautiful.
welcome you in this space, and I want to welcome you and your energy in this space of total creation. My teacher, my mentor, and I bet you don't even know how many people you impact by just your presence. And I want to very much welcome you, Amanda Testa. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Thank you. I am so grateful to be here with you, Melita. I love it. And I think you are such an incredible human. And I love your energy right back. And I am thrilled to be here with you.
Wow. Well, we'll dive right in if you're open to it.
Let's go.
I have just experienced you again on the Vita retreat in Costa Rica just not even a month ago. And this time you were different and I was different. And I am curious, what do you feel? How do you, because my question to you was, how do you sense the collective energy and how do you adapt to people's energies? That's first question. The second is, have you tuned into your energy before you entered this space of ours? And I'm curious to see on which side of it you are, because I bet we were in a complete opposite in order to balance our energy and our space for.
So that is a great question. One of the things with regards to my own energy is I have a daily practice. I'm constantly working on tapping into my aliveness and my own sexual energy and just my own overall life force energy. And that helps me to be attuned to it. And before we go into retreats, then I just spend extra time really taking good care of myself, tuning into, what's the highest version of myself that wants to show up for the students and for the work. And that's how I show up to the space when it comes to, and I also do a lot of work just kind of maintaining my own energy and setting a really strong energetic boundaries for myself so that I can hold a beautiful space and also be attuned to everyone
Mhm.
else, but not feel like I'm being sucked into anything or also
Mm.
distancing myself, right? I like to be connected, but yet strong in my own power, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense. As if you, because you are a senior teacher for Layla Martin's Vita coaching program, and this is big deal because you pass through so many, entire cohort is like hundreds of women all at the same time coming at you. So now, since you mentioned it, I'm curious, how do you, first of all, do you have a sense of how far your boundary is energetic? And do you have a sense when you start leaking, how does that feel in your body?
That's a great question. I feel like I get to manipulate it to my will. Sometimes I want it to be bigger, sometimes I want it to be smaller. And I feel like the closer I am to people, I do, because when we look at our energetic Taurus, it really does extend outside of us.
Mm.
So when we are with others, our energies are mixing and mingling, whether we
Yeah.
like it or not. And if we have, like holes or weird patterns in our energy, then we can like hook on to other weird energies. And so it's important that we do take care of our own energetic space and our boundaries. And I feel like that's a beautiful practice for so many because most of us, well, I know I never learned how to do it coming along. I had to
Yeah.
actively seek out how to do it and learn how to tune into what that means. And for me, when I feel like my boundary is intact, I can feel where I want to like lean in and move closer to something.
Mm.
And I can feel like when I want to like move back and like kind of push away from something.
Ah,
Do you notice
totally.
that for you?
Uh-huh. And it's almost incomprehensible for the mind. And mind wants to set the line. where you cross or you don't cross, you're either in or out. But there's this like almost inner pulling and pushing that happens. And you got to be so tuned into your body in order to kind of understand that your mind is helping you differentiate and almost you don't even action on it. It does its own thing
Yeah.
through you. Is that right? Is that how you
Yeah.
feel it?
Yeah. And I can tell you ask the question of when I can tell it's leaky or when it doesn't feel good. And usually it's because I am feeling myself feeling very overwhelmed, or I can feel myself getting irritated. Like if I feel myself getting irritated or resentful about something, usually that's because I'm not being clear. It's not clear or firm in some way.
Wow. So you feel the contraction. And is your mind giving you more trouble with it? Your mind is like our minds are so quick to jump to give you the reasons why
Sure.
you should be even
Yes.
more irritated. True.
Yes. I think, and I notice a lot specifically, just with the people I live with, right? Because they're the ones that are closest to us. And
Uh-huh.
I also am a parent. And so I can tell, that's a harder boundary sometimes to be respected. That takes a little more nuance because sometimes kids are great at honoring them and sometimes they have a harder time doing that. My kid has learned a lot over the years, so I think they're better, but still there's moments where,
Hmm.
for example, I'm on a beautiful call with someone like you, and then my daughter will come down and like try to start to talk to me or do something.
I need you. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. But I can
Uh-huh.
tell when that happens. And I can feel just like a tingling in my chest and just kind of like a little bit of contraction that starts to happen.
Yeah. And I'm curious, how often do you allow these icky moments to feel, for you to actually drop in and feel what the icky feels like as well?
I feel like a lot of times I need to sit with it,
Aha.
figure out what to do about it. Now, there's times where I won't be able to do it in that moment, right?
Mhm.
For example, if I'm on an interview and I'm feeling irritated because I'm getting interrupted, then I'll just, reground myself and come back to it later. But then after, I will have a discussion about that with whoever interrupted me,
Mm.
about why that's frustrating and what to do in the future and kind of repair anything that needs to be repaired so that we can move forward and feel good again.
Because when I see you, and this is how you show up to the world, and I'm in the audience, I have been following your teachings 2 years already, and I have had intimate, almost like intimate connection, body to body in a physical world twice. That is very profoundly deep, and it's almost like pushing the limits of the nervous system. It's not reality. This is not how we live, but we enter into this space together. So I have been in the situation when I perceived your energy. And so I was able to receive what you give. And I, of course, I received it based on my own perception and how open I was to your gifts that you're giving. But you never once showed up in an energy that was not welcoming. So you show up 7 days consistently for every JDEC practice, open, Amanda, and you are wide open. And somewhere there, I wonder, there is the self awareness, there is the almost like consistent tuning in. Is this what your truth is? And for us who receive you, it seems to be you're living your truth in your body consistently. How does that feel when I say it? Is it true or is it a lot of work? And you're like, I have a
Oh,
lot of work to do.
I feel like it's really true. And I also feel, I was thinking about this. One of the reasons I think that retreat spaces feel so incredible is because there's so many layers of safety and support. Number one, you are in a new environment. So it's like this clean slate to create in. And you have this beautiful land that you're on. Another beautiful, that to me is a really regenerative resource and makes me feel very connected to nature because we are nature. And when we are in little cubicles or in buildings or in concrete, it's harder to perceive that through our senses. But when we're actually right up with it, it just reminds us what we are, who we are. And then we have this beautiful retreat center that has amazing protection and people that are safe and lovely. We have the guardians of Eros, we have just layers of support in the room. And because of all those layers of energetic support, then that helps me to feel even more open. right? Because I can fully just
Take it.
the heart shine 100%, let the womb and the pussy let it all like, ooh, fill the space. Yeah.
Yeah. Because to me, it seems and it feels like you no longer operate from just what you know and who you are. That identity is there, but it's this little, it's not important. It actually, you operate out of the receiving of your entire environment, inside and outside. And you're able to enjoy it so much as if your construct of the mind, you live outside of the constructs of the mind. And that takes lifetimes to get to.
Yeah.
And then lifetimes. And I'm curious, did it take you so long to get to outer space of your mind concepts? Because it takes some sort of practice and dedication and devotion. Or did you come with this sort of compass that you knew that somewhere there outside, there's so much more of Amanda rather than the mind notion and conceptions? Because to me, you're living outside. This is what you're gifting to us. So how
Mhm.
did you come up to this compass, this centeredness inside of you?
I think it's a lot of my own practice and just being in, for example, you mentioned a lot of the teachings that I did at the retreat were around jade egg and doing a lot of those practices in the Taoist philosophy and doing those practices for many, many, many years, for decades. I embody a lot of that because I've just practiced it so much. The other aspect around energy and groups, I think one of the things that's helped me there is when I was younger, I was very into music. And I was one of those that loved to go on like following bands around. I was a deadhead back in the day
I
and,
love it.
did a lot of psychedelics. And I honestly think there is such wisdom. I mean, and I work a lot with psychedelics still because I feel like there's numerous ways we can access these different realms of our consciousness.
Mhm.
We can do it through pleasure. We can do it through breath. We can do it through plants. We can do it so many different ways. But I think the first time I really expanded outside of myself was through psychedelics and realizing, like, wow, there's so much more
Mm.
than what I've been taught. I also had an amazing teacher in high school, George Westifer. I love him because he had us read a lot of books that challenged our current norms. And I think to me, that really got me thinking differently and opening my mind to perceive more of what I had been taught, which was very much, conservative, Southern religious things, which there's, some of that's beautiful and some of it is very oppressive. And so I think that was the first start. And then kind of expanding upon that and having these experiences where I was outside of myself and realizing what's truly out there. Like our consciousness is so vast. And also
Mm.
being in groups doing that, right? I think this is one of the reasons why I think I've always been fascinated working with groups is when you go to these big concerts and there's thousands of people and kind of feeling into like, where's the good places to go? Where do you want to move away from? How do all these things dance together and finding your space in there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally get it. And you said something really key, I think to me. It's like it almost sounds like you started questioning your own thoughts early age because you were exposed in an environment that stimulated the almost like questioning your own self, like, is this the truth or is this the truth? And then the mind started confusing itself to a point where it couldn't confuse, nothing made sense. And then you didn't have anywhere else to go because entire world in the mind is nonsense. And then the only way for you to go was to get inside. And then you started feeling, and to get inside is to get outside of the mind, which is outside the limits of the mind. And do you feel that you came with the compass from someplace else rather than just this physical life? We're going a little esoteric right now, but I can't help but not ask.
I,
Like,
I mean, that's such an interesting question. I always think about that. But I do feel like we are here for an important reason, an important purpose. And when I
uh-huh.
think back through my life experience and all the things that have happened, I often wonder, yeah, like I do feel like I'm living so in my truth and expressing that so fully in this lifetime. I don't know if that was available to me in other lifetimes or whatnot, but it feels really aligned to be here now.
The right time, right space, right you.
Yeah.
And this sense, does it feel like almost like there's only in this moment, there's only this chance to live this you?
I don't know. I think there's probably many, but like if you take it out, there's so many possibilities. And then, like you say, like I like to think about that. Like there's so many different possibilities I could step into. And then also coming back into my own, like lasering it down in as I bring myself back to my like physical body. It feels so good to be on this one path that I'm living right now that I've chosen, or it's been delivered to me, or however you want to think about it.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I think the
Hmm.
beautiful thing to realize is like, well, there's always different ways I can choose to choose. If I'm not liking this one, then I can, in some ways, change, right? Change it. So I do like
And
it.
yeah, because it changes all the time.
Yeah.
The only time it doesn't change when we resent it. And we
Yes.
try to cycle again and again and again. So, out of which part of you or a layer of yours do you feel the change is necessary?
Mm.
How do you know it is your truth and not the truth of your external mind and influences that we get here?
I can really feel it when I'm in coherence. Like I feel like all the parts of me are in coherence. For example, when I'm saying coherence, if you think about like everything is moving in the same direction, all the light particles are going in the same way, like all the parts of me feel like they're in alignment. Like my energy centers, all of me just feels very in alignment. That's when I can tell that I'm in coherence. That feels good to me. When I feel like things are off, when I feel all over the place or like pulled in a million different directions, that's when I feel like, okay, time to slow down and be with what you ever need to experience, like figure out what's going on and try to find your coherence again. And I have practices that I have, worked with to do that. So I have ways I can do that and tune in and be like, oh, here's where it's off. Here's what I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say these parts of you, this like almost centers of alignment, layers, how do you feel that? What is that for you? How do you understand these layers of you? And how
So
many do you
I,
have?
yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, depending on what you've studied or what your philosophy is, I mean, there's so
Mm.
many different ways to look at your energy body and how the systems work. I mean, there's so many different channels or energy centers, depending on what you look at. But even if I think about just simply like the seven chakras, I can feel them distinctly in my body. And I also feel like each one of them is connected to a different archetype or blueprint, so to speak. And so when I can feel like something's off in there, then I can just tune in to where might something feel off and what to do about it.
Mhm.
So, for example, if I think about like if I feel blocked in my heart, for example, if I feel like super compressed in my heart, then typically that means there's probably some kind of like dimming that's showing up. There's probably some way I'm like closing myself down, or there's some kind of shame or something that's being repressed. There's something that I'm not allowing out a lot
Mhm.
of the time. Right. And so if that happens, then I need to spend some time figuring out what's going on. Like, what do I need to work with? Where's this shame coming from? Where's this dimming coming from? And even it can just be like spending some time breathing into my heart or doing a breast massage or just tuning in, like what it needs to be felt. Sometimes it's grief. Sometimes there's like stuck emotion that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
On the other side, like if I feel what's there fully, then typically then the expression, the clarity of expression comes back.
Mm.
Then that can be more able to, if there was some kind of something I need to communicate, if there was a rift somewhere that I need to communicate, like repair something with someone that I love, that, maybe sometimes that's why it happens. Or if there's something I need to share that I haven't been sharing, that is how I can work with it.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. And it's the gap and awareness that comes in that like we almost, this is how it feels for me when I identify too much with my story and I get so manic about it. It's almost like, do, go. It's just like, I don't even have a space to think. There's no pause in between. And I get so activated. Yes, I can move the mountain, but wait a minute. I identified with it so much that I can't even feel what is happening underneath it. And it seems like this catch, this like awareness, self-awareness of catching these moments of a super active, hyperactivation that actually just like almost like vibrates the body in a different way for it to take a moment. And it sounds really simple. It actually is simple, but the trick is to catch yourself in it. Would you agree on that? When you get so in the
Yes.
mind, so
That's the key, is to catch yourself. And that's hard. And you really have to pay attention because it's often these subtle little clues that will happen. And
mhm.
sometimes it's like, okay, well, I have this pattern of always doing X. Like I have this pattern of always like yelling or whatever it might be. And then it's kind of slowing down. Like what happens right before that you yell? Or what happens right before you notice that urge to yell? What happens inside of you? Maybe is there sensations? Is there an emotion? Is there an image? Is there something that's coming up? And kind of getting really lasered into whatever that might be. And that takes practice. But the more we pay attention, the more we can realize, oh, I realize this. And then when you can catch it right before, you have more of an opportunity to choose a different reaction.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And that's why you keep saying it's like it's a practice because we don't operate aware 100% of the time. We're actually more unaware than we're aware. But at what point we cannot attain the state of total awareness. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in a physical body. There is the function in this body as well. And this is, like to call it just a tease of reality. I was actually talking about this morning and I was like, what a tease when I enter into this field of my own, when I actually become speechless. And I'm like, huh, nothing comes out of my mind any longer because there's no words. It's just the attained tease of the state of possibility. But yet I'm still here. It reminds me of Ram Dass taking the fast train many times over and over again, going up there, which we can tap base on psychedelics and how you use them actually in your benefit to open the gates of possibilities, not to attain all the possibility. And it reminds me of how many times he kept coming back to Earth. He's like, until he gave up of going up there because he's here. We can attain the states of possibility, but we are not there. We can be our sense and potential of holding that much space can just grow and enlarge and evolve, but we have way to go to that state. Would you agree? Or is this also the tantric way of looking at things?
No, I love this. And I love that you said that because we are, I mean, that's what I think I love so much about embodiment. It's because we do have this physical body that is so delicious and is capable of so much pleasure and so much connection and so much creation. And that I mean, I think that's the beauty is like we want to come back to this, right? We want to experience that bliss, but through our body.
Mm.
That's where like the juice is to me.
Mm. Say more.
Because I think, oftentimes if I'm working in the psychedelic realms, it's to bring people back into their body. It's like to open up that connection, to bridge, to kind of soften that part of you that's like so rigid and controlled and stuck in patterns that you could experience something new.
Mm.
Because sometimes that's really hard for people, especially with embodiment. We work a lot about trying to get people to, understand their somatic experience and what that is like. And for some people, that's easy. And for some people, that's really hard. And for good reason, oftentimes, right? There could
Mhm.
be traumas or different things that are layered on top that, you don't want to go there. But when you can kind of create the conditions that it's a space that feels brave enough to explore, then that's where you can find all kinds of new ways of being and bring more of your life force online, bring more of yourself back, bring more of your wholeness. So if I'm doing psychedelics or helping a client in that realm, it's usually to open the doorway for them to feel more, to be in their
Mhm.
body more.
Mhm. And which is ironic because psychedelics takes you out in a totally different dimension of existence that can it's not comprehensible with the mind. So how do you do that? And I actually didn't know that you're working with psychedelics. Do you have what is is it a program or is it just
So,
retreats?
well, it's mostly in person. I live here in Colorado. And so, but honestly, one of the things that I love to work with the most is psilocybin because I feel like and what I think it's great about working in this realm is that you do go on an experience that's sometimes outside of your body. However, what I find is so important about it is the integration afterwards, right?
Mhm.
Because we are able to see things from a different perspective and then bring it back in to our body. Oftentimes, too, there's more of an opportunity to make connections that we weren't able to before because of the way our neuroplasticity opens up in
Mm.
those states. And that's the beauty of it because you can do it with breath, right? You can do it with pleasure. That's one of the beautiful things about Vita coaching in specific because we kind of access those states through breath and pleasure. You can also use plants. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it, but the beauty of
Mhm.
space is that you're able to create new pathways, right? And then when you have those new pathways, then you bring them into your life, you bring them into your body, you bring them into the connections with the people around you.
Yeah. So, and when you say your integration is actually integrating from in to your mind rather than allowing your mind to create a story about it, you're actually integrating back from the center of your core that you just discovered as your reality and awareness, expansive awareness. And then is this how I'm understanding? You're kind of working body out rather than out to the body.
Yeah. And sometimes because you are right, it does take you into this mind experience. And then you have a lot of different visions or things that happen. And then you come back and you explore what you experienced and like how does that feel in your body now? Like what do you notice when you talk about that? What do you feel inside of you? Like how do we anchor in these new patterns
Mm.
into your body, into your cells so that you act differently? Maybe in the past you always did this, but now you're going to do this, which is more productive for what you want in life. This is the
Wow.
way you want to engage, right? So that's kind of how it is. I mean, because I think the experience itself is one thing, but putting the pieces together afterwards, that's where the magic happens. That's the most important part to me.
So you're reprinting the nervous system and
Yes.
the deep, deep genetic, almost genetic programming, the core, not even genetic, but more like nervous system on how to
Yes.
react. So how do you do that
Yes.
with the not so pleasant experiences in
Yes.
exiting and coming back?
Yeah. So part of that too is usually oftentimes that's when there is a lack of a willingness to surrender to the
Mm.
experience. Because often being in that, whatever it is, there's a lesson in it. And the more you surrender to whatever that is, there's truth there. And often we want to fight what the truth is,
Mhm.
want to see that,
The
but
mind.
we're kind of like forced to see it. And it can be really painful, but that's the beautiful thing about having a very wise and experienced and talented guide with you so that you can not feel so afraid,
Mhm.
right?
Hmm. I read somewhere, and you tell me if this is correct based on your experiences in this realm. The more we suppress and almost like suppress this energy that wants to become and experience itself, the more we almost press it in and avoid it, resent it, ignore it, run away from it, go to drugs, go to alcohol, and kind of almost don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
The bigger, the more explosive the awakening becomes. I read it
Yeah.
in the same book, and I'm like, is this really versus actually putting yourself slowly and phasing out your process of awakening, which cannot be fast tracked. It takes its own time. But the more we say no to experiencing the life, especially inner emotions and turmoils, the bigger the awakening comes. And often it takes crisis for it.
Yeah. I think that can be true. I mean, it often is. And even if you think about a way to make this more tangible for people to understand, even if you think about health, if you have a health issue, or if
Mm.
you're like really under chronic stress, or you're
Mm.
not dealing with something that needs to be dealt with, oftentimes your body will just shut down. You'll get sick. You'll have something happen where you're just like forced to,
Yeah.
right? And so we really do have to pay attention. And it is our culture makes it really hard. It makes it really
Mm.
hard to,
In
right?
Western
Because
culture.
yes, here specifically in the US where I am, and it's very much about produce, 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 and achieve. And those are your only options. And so that's very unrealistic, really. And so most people are running around feeling like, well, I'm not doing enough and I'm failing and I'm never going to get to where I want to be. And, living in this states. And also because of the busyness of the culture, there's not a lot of time to just like do the things that we're meant to do as humans, like connect with others and slow
Mm-hmm.
down and like enjoy meals together and dance and sing and play, right? We don't have enough time for that. And so it
And we
makes,
also have to pay for it,
yes,
which I think
that's,
it's the error.
oh,
You
yes,
actually have
right?
to pay to be silent and to not. This is why we go on retreats. This is why we exit the busy life to go out there and discover parts of us that are very much alive, but yet we don't have time for it. It's tomorrow, 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 and tomorrow does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So Amanda, I'm curious. And okay, so I'm gonna take a slow digression. Well, actually, 90 and like sharp turn, but it's still related to what we're talking about. And I'm curious to come back down into the way you tune in to others. And let me rephrase because we talked about coming in and then having the roads to get us out of self image, often false self image. And then it's almost like there is me, but there's also one or the whole. And this journey of spiritualizing the ego and coming out of the construct of the mind is everybody has to come through that. It's almost like it's impossible. Sometimes I even wonder in one lifetime, it kind of cycles itself again and again and again. And I'm catching this lately a lot. I was like, wait a minute, same problem happened 30 years ago and 50. And in art, I'm like, and in 15th century, and everybody had the same love problem. So what's the problems actually? Wait a minute, we don't even have a time to go back and realize that we're cycling the same exact shadows, the same exact cycles, and we're almost in the same exact pattern. It
Yeah.
blows my mind. I have no answer to why. It just is. First, do you
And
have answer?
I have no answer to why either. I always question that myself. I was like, when will humans ever learn? When will when will we learn? I don't know the answer to that question. But it is interesting to think about because everything is cyclical. And it's like, why do we, again, why do we fight so hard? I don't know. It's very interesting. I think about that a lot.
Me too. I mean, it's hard not to think, especially if you have a curious mind. Are you finding collective change in your lifetime, let's say?
I mean, here's what I love to aspire to. I like the hope that there can be a change.
Okay.
And sometimes it feels like, maybe there's steps forward and then 10 steps back, and a step forward and 10 steps back. But I think the only way we can move forward is by continuing to hold that vision and, of liberation for all, literally, really holding that vision. I think that's the only way we can hold that hope that there's change that will stick.
So this is how you contribute to the collective. This is
And,
the way that you contribute.
and also, I think because when we do this work on ourselves and when we heal ourselves, we have more capacity to show up and really see what people are, what people need, what people are going through, how to help, right?
Mm.
We can more easily offer our gifts to help others versus being so stuck up in our own spirals of trauma and fear and everything else that we can't do anything but survive and be on the hamster wheel,
Mm.
you know? Because even when we just slow down enough to say, oh, I see this person at the grocery store and they can't reach that high can, I'm going to grab it for them. It can be
Mm.
that simple. It's like all the ways that because we are in a collective field. We're not, I mean, we're individuals, but we're part of a collective field. And we all have a part to play in tending to the garden. And everybody
Mhm.
thinks, oh, just my little part. Well, let me just tell you right now, if your little part is tended to, but then there's no water, what's going to happen then? Right?
Mm.
Because we all need the same resources. We all have to like figure it out somehow. I don't know how we will, but I think for me and like healing my own trauma and helping others heal their trauma, I see how we show up to create a different environment, to create a different world, to do more things that make a difference.
Mm.
And one of my business coaches, Rachel Maddox, I love her so much. Um, I've worked a lot with her over the years, and she talks about world changing witches creating world changing visions. And
Mhm.
that's how we think about it. Because, I mean, unfortunately, in the world we live in, money does make a difference. Power does make a difference. And so more people with the right vision that have money and power that believe in, you know, creating sustainable collective wealth and freedom, those are the ones who need to be lifted up. So that,
Mm,
in my
yeah.
opinion, I will just share that.
Okay, well, good opinion. Because it's very optimistic, right? It's not pessimistic, it's not utopian, and it's also very hopeful. And it almost like if we don't have a hope to hope towards something, like we actually would lose a sense of what it feels and means to be here and to contribute to. There's this specific value, or almost like my story value, the value of my story and my unique experience of
Yes.
this force that is coming through me. It's either a love force or a poetry or art force or creative force, whatever that wants to experience itself. I happen to play the role, happen to be in this land, to speaking this language, speaking, and my job is only to realize out of which part of me I contribute. Am I contributing and teaching from my head part, which is very me actually? It does not care for the collective, or am I contributing from the heart space where it wants nothing in return? And would you agree with this? Because gifting the space for someone else to take without asking any type of return, almost altruistically, without identification, being willing. We did this letting go exercise on last retreat. It was so hard. It was like, take it, take it, take it, take it. You want it? And then drop it all off. And I was like,
Yes. Yes.
holy shit, this is so painful and so good, because that is the process of gifting and contributing how I perceive it and how I think. It's almost like everything that you do, if it comes from my heart, it's almost gift to, which is why I ask you for podcasts. This is gonna get one like, Amanda, and maybe one view. But 10 years from now, somebody there in New Zealand will read it. And if this is you 10 years and 2045, then it might mean the world to you. You might be the
Yeah.
shapeshifter for the entire collective. You never know.
Well, I think this is the beauty of sharing what's true and being a clear channel for what wants to come through you, right? Because you are a gift by just being who you are. And I will say, having the optimistic view is not to bypass all the real horrific things going on. Like you have to sit with those and be with it and let yourself see it with your eyes and feel your body feeling it, because that reminds you that this is real and that's why you have to do something. You can't,
Yeah.
I think you have to be in the realness of it too, right? You can really be and have empathy for the people that are suffering,
Yeah.
for the situations that are really horrific. And that makes it more easy to be like, okay, well, you sound like you're dancing around the truth, right? You're still holding the truth, but also working towards a different outcome,
Different
right? Because
purpose.
it's like anything, even with your own body, like I may have suffered traumas and I can live in those. And how do I express when I live from those? Or I can allow myself to work with what's still here and move through the layers to find my aliveness again and then come to the world from that place. It's night and day. I mean, it is. I think it's a microcosm of what we can do on the macrocosm when we do that work. Because I see it
Mm-hmm.
with my clients all the time, right? And the people
Mm-hmm.
that have been my students that are doing amazing things in the world.
Mm. Yeah. And does it take this, if we were to put it in any type of linear step by step self, and then growth, of course, when you exit 30s and 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, it's a different type of understanding of self too. Does it take maturity in emotions and maturity in experiences, and also many experiences? Does it take to experience life for whatever, without resentment, for almost you to get to that space of, oh my God, everything is real, and everything we add on, we cannot just devolve and eliminate. It is part of us. It come to us to this point, and this is my choice. Does it take
Yes,
kind of
definitely.
like,
I think it does take time and often professional help and a lot of different things to get to that point. I do believe it's possible to heal, though. I know it is. And I think that is what's so beautiful about it is that's how our energy serves us. It wants to thrive. We have this blueprint of health at our core. We really do. This like original essence, our energy flow, it's there and it wants to come back online. So what we do is we systematically remove the blocks that keep it from flowing so that when it is flowing more fully and freely, then you really can live what you want, like do what you want, get more of what you want, ask for what you want and receive it. Right.
yeah, yeah. It's true. It is true. So, do you lead your life and go through your life intuitively with your truth that is almost undescribable to your brain? Or do you take, because we're now talking, the reality is there's bad and good. And the reality is we need money, we can't run away from it and just do art and play guitar, right? So
Yeah.
you have to kind of almost like live two of you,
Yeah.
three of you, four of you at the same time. And every single part of you has to have a chance to explore because we're now multiverse in one. We're complex.
Hmm.
We're not complicated. We're just becoming more complex as we evolve.
Yes.
So, what part of you leads you in life to take on every day and get up on that stage with the full truth? Which one leads?
I would say my heart. I
I love, I want to cry because it's beautiful.
mean, and I think that is what I can tell I'm my best self when I lead from there
Yeah.
and most impactful. And I mean, and I'm a human like everyone else. So I have my days where I feel like the mom from hell or feel like I'm making all the wrong choices. But then if I can come back to my practice and be with whatever the truth of that is, and I can have more compassion for myself and I can forgive myself, and then I can move forward and like repair anything I need to repair. And that just makes things makes me live the way I want to live. Cause also knowing like I am human, I'm going to fuck things up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm going to make mistakes. I am going to, you know, hurt people involuntarily. I'm just probably going to do those things. But I have to be aware that I can always choose to repair and I can always choose to find the right next step that is going to serve myself and the collective, right? I think that's the key is like I can come back to my practice and get re-centered and what's important to me, what are the things that I need, how do I want to serve, and move
Mm,
forward from that place, and it makes it
mm,
much easier. So my heart is where I like to lead from.
totally. And this is what we get as a gift for you, from you to us. Well, and heart to heart.
Yeah.
I can be giving you my last piece of breath from the heart, and you can receive it as a rock and perceive it as a rock. If your heart is not open, you can't receive someone else's heart. It's hard. It's like, yes, I can melt to it, but I can't take it because I need to learn how to speak its language, how to verbalize it. So, how does your heart feel inside of you?
Right now it feels very shiny and open and like sparkly, probably because I'm connected to you and feel your heart too. If you know, I can tell when it feels open because I have a warmth, I have a softness. I feel like I can breathe more deeply. I kind of feel like this sparkly sensation around my chest.
Mhm. And is there a part of your heart that feels safe?
Yes, in this moment for sure.
Yeah. And is that what it is when we say, I want to feel safe? I need safety. Is that actually more what we think of because we know the body knows how to defend from tigers and we know the metaphor of almost like having defense system and mechanism to survive. But
Mhm.
is this what we mean when we say and when we hear, I need to feel seen, safe, and I need to feel belonging?
Well, I think that's part of it, right? And everybody maybe have a different, maybe different people have different imprints of
Mm,
that in their body when they feel it. But often, you know, if you can tune in and create layers of support that you can depend on, because again, we can't guarantee safety. We never know what's around the corner. But I
mm,
can feel right now, like I feel gravity holding me to the ground, right? I feel the sun around me because I can see out of my window and I'm looking at the beautiful greenery outside of your window and the sun shining in and I see your beautiful smiling face and I can just feel like I'm in my home and I'm feeling very lots of these layers of like supportive things. And
mhm,
because of that, I'm like, this is a space where, yes, I can really feel my heart open. And
mm,
sometimes I notice, like, even if I'm at the grocery store, for example, and it's feeling crazy and it's chaotic, and I'm like, how can I enjoy this experience more. And it is kind of like, well, what are the things that help you enjoy this moment more, feel more present? And that helps me feel more safe, is when I feel present and connected.
Mm.
So it's like, well, I can look around and like weep because of the abundance that's available to me in this grocery store. And I
Mm.
literally have cried in the grocery store numerous times because I'm like
Me too.
overtaken by, wow, this is such a gift. What a flipping gift. I mean, this is an incredible gift to be able to go and buy whatever you want and have this abundance of food and water and all that you can imagine. Like that right there makes me weep. So, gosh, what a different experience is going to the grocery store from that place versus like, oh, it's crowded and the lines are long and I got this, gotta cook dinner again, damn it. Whatever it is, like, wow, we
Yeah,
can look at things different ways.
that is funny because you know how you said we're all processing different things and we're experiencing different things. We're
Totally.
supposed to. When I wept in grocery store because my heart felt broken. I was like, I was going through whatever heartbreak. My heart breaks in the mind. It's really never broken, but it's almost like energetically closed. And when it has this initial needs to express itself through my eyes, and I happen to be at Whole Foods many times, I'm like, okay, now, okay, fine, let it out. I would just sit next to it, lean on the aisle. But all this to say that it's very normal to experience waves of change, waves of evolution, and waves of almost like it's not wrong. It's almost like it's all the way it needs to be. The way you look at things and fall in love with just the birds and the flies and the space around you, but also it has the melancholy feeling sometimes. It has this nostalgia. It has this longing that is almost poetic inside of you. It's all the expression of what needs to be present in this space of ours that we belong and take.
Yes. I
So
think
cool.
that's the being alive part. Like I feel it all. And I can
Yeah.
just feel it all so deeply.
Yeah. And do you feel for some there is the default state once you tap into the truth? There is the default, and I feel and almost I can see your default is very happy, joyful. Your default is joyful. So I don't know, can anything irk you for longer than a day or two, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
it's
of
almost
course. It can. It can. I mean, this winter was a winter, but that's also like honoring the seasons and also knowing like if I'm in it, I can be in it and
Mm,
I can still make space for pleasure in little ways and comfort and things that make me feel resourced and ways I can serve so I can feel like I'm doing good in the world and ways I can tap into things that I'm passionate about and then feel all the depths of
mm,
sorrow or grief or pain or whatever I'm in. I do.
mm,
I can go there. Yeah.
mm. And who comes first, you or the world?
Well, I think it's like one and the same. It really
Elaborate.
is. It's one and the same. And I think I'm a very empathetic person too. So I can feel things deeply. And um, when there's a lot of heavy things going on in the world, like I feel it deeply in my body and I can have a migraine for 2 months. I can feel things. I have to
Oh,
really,
wow.
that's one of the other things too, where I have to realize like, where am I taking on too much? And where do I
Mm,
need to like really focus on my boundaries and what is appropriate for me to let in at this moment or not? Right.
mm,
Because I can go there into the depths. And
mhm.
that's, like you say, we want to give ourselves permission to do that in bits and pieces, but also many of us have lives. We have businesses to run, children to take care of, things to do. So we have to find our pockets of being with that and then containing it and moving out into life and finding what we can find to connect to pleasure again.
Mm,
And it's like a dance many days.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you keep coming back to the pleasure. And I mean, you are a sex, love, and relationship coach, and you teach this on daily basis. You also live it. How much of this pleasure, what is pleasure for you?
I love this question so much. And I think because even when you were saying like I can find this like default state of it that's more easy to me to return to, this state of joy and playfulness much more
Mm-hmm.
easily
Mm,
than I used to could. Right. And I think that's
mm,
the beauty of doing this work is because you can default more to joy and playfulness more often than not. It's
mm,
not to say I'm not going to have horrible days or experiences that are really challenging in life, because we do go through those. And we can be, I think the more fully we can be with them, we can actually find, like, being with that truth of whatever it is, there is some, I mean, there's really a divinity in that, right? It can be powerful. So I think that's to say, like, part of this work is being able to really feel whatever is deeply and allow yourself to. And also
Mm,
give yourself permission when you are in a period of life where, you know what, I have been disconnected from myself and disconnected from my practice. And wow, look what's happening. How about we pause and let's get reconnected. Let's start over. Let's hit the reset button. We can do that anytime.
mhm,
I think that's the beauty of this work and these practices, because we kind of learn how to hit the reset button and come back to, okay, what feels good right now? What can I do to add more pleasure in? Like,
mm.
maybe it's, I hate these underwear are digging into me and I'm going to change them and throw them away and never wear them again. Right? Or it's
Yeah.
like, I haven't had any water all day. I'm going to drink a glass of water. Like, these things are pleasure to me also,
Mm,
and that moves from all the other things that feel good, looking around and hearing my husband at work in his office in the other room, or hearing my dog like at the top of the stairs, seeing the sun pouring through my window, looking at some things in my office that bring me joy, feeling in my heart when I think about people I love, feeling
mm,
pleasure and like my pussy all lit up when I'm, you know, just dancing, or feeling aliveness running through it, just how that makes everything deeper and richer.
mm. Because you're so present with yourself. Present, you're here. Did did this shifted? Was it always, well, actually, because you said that you had to work through it to bring yourself back in. And I'll give you the example. When I did the Vipassana in the beginning of March this year, I realized I actually had a sense of my awareness being outside of me, almost outside of my field, so far that I would go through practices and envision myself moving microcosmic orbit and doing, moving the energy inside, but I'm there. And I'm like, how am I there doing all of this? And I'm sitting and I'm seeing myself as if I'm a third person. So Vipassana and the training of the mind brought me closer and closer and closer. And suddenly I became here on my nose. And then I entered and I was like, what? My awareness became very within. And I almost embodied myself in the body, out of which now I can move things inside my body and actually feel them rather than just envision them. And was because that's, to my sense, is how you embody yourself and you become full of yourself.
Yes.
Ironic. So did you have this moment of realization? Well, actually, first, did you live outside your body? Is your awareness someplace else? And what happened to you in life to bring your awareness and become so embodied, where you're actually aware of what's happening in and out?
I love your story. I think that's so amazing what you just shared.
Mm,
For me, I think I lived much of my life outside of my body, probably
mm,
most of it, until, especially when I was younger and a teenager. And I mean, I think if you think about coming home to yourself, often there's a memory of when that happens and what it feels like. And I
mm,
think it can feel really scary for some. For me, I think
mm,
I remember it being a really scary feeling of like, I remember I was deep in this breathwork experience. And I was just thinking, oh, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I'm afraid like something's going to happen to me. I'm going to die. I can't breathe, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it was like, you are home, silly. This like voice. And I was like, and it was just like the cosmic joke. And I just died laughing. I was like, no shit, that is it. Nowhere else you can be,
Oh my God.
but in your own body. And
Mm.
that was one for me. I was like, wow, that was very,
Wow.
very powerful.
And was this was your early age?
No, this was probably in like 2014.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think I had done a lot of work to come back in, because I had a lot of body dysmorphia and eating disorders when I was younger. Did a lot of over drinking and sex, drugs, and rock and roll to numb myself. And then, probably in my late 20s, early 30s, I started just becoming way more aware of my body and getting really, probably in the unhealthy way of obsessed with health and fitness. And I was doing triathlons and I became a personal trainer and all these things. but not from the perspective of, I think it was more of like looking good versus feeling good,
Mm.
or like doing the things that I quote thought were right to do. And yes, on many levels, I did feel so much better. But it probably wouldn't help that I would go out on a Friday night and drink like 10 cocktails and then get up and go run 10 miles. And there was not a balance, right?
Mm.
It wasn't very balanced. But I think what I started to realize, and then my father, he had early onset Alzheimer's. So he was it was like a 10-year, he was diagnosed when he was about 48. And then it was a very slow decline over 10 years, which was very horrific to be in and witness and watch. And there was a lot of other things going on at that time. But when he died as well, I remember like that was kind of a huge change for me. Like
Mm.
having that huge portal to walk through of grief and realizing I didn't have the right tools, and just started to go deeper on my own journey and working with a different therapist that was so much more helpful, and doing a lot of EMDR and things of that nature, and realizing like there was so much pent up like fight energy in me for years and years and years that I had never expressed. So that's
Wow.
probably why I was loving running and swimming and biking and working out and all these things to try to like move it.
Hmm.
Anyways, so on the other side of that, that's when I started coming into my body more. And that's kind of when I started exploring more of my like honoring myself and finding relationships that honoring myself. And that's when I met my now husband, and realizing like sex is not just something you do for someone else, right? It's an experience you get to enjoy, and it's part of our aliveness. And it is really a beautiful celebratory thing that our body is meant to feel pleasure and ecstasy and connection. And so that was another big part of it. So those are some of the things that I think helped me become more embodied. And of course, all this work that, around embodiment and doing practices to really help you connect with your sensations. I'm also, done a lot of somatic experiencing training. And so just weaving all those things together.
Yeah. It's this whole universe here. Whole, almost like whole unexplored universe inside that you get the honor to actually fly into and explore and come up with and feel. And I have high hopes. My default is very optimistic. Call it natal chart or not. My stars are aligned in the moment I came to embody this life, and I have very high hopes for humanity, actually. I almost go against the grain of what is perceived. And I have such a high hopes that we are so much more complex now and evolved to a point where we can differentiate these layers of us, this universe, this complexity inside, and almost get so like seduced by it to explore it and feel it and exchange it. And the layer that I am the most fascinated by is your blend and my blend blending in together. And we get to create together as we just did for this 1 hour. Amanda, oh my God. We're at the hour and I want to be respectful. I don't want to run over it. I just want to touch base and see how are you feeling afterwards.
I so appreciate you, Melitza. I love you and what
Mm.
you bring. And I'm so grateful for this time together. I feel like very connected to you. And I feel that's the other beautiful thing I love about teaching and doing this work, is because it is the connection with other people. And I get to meet so many incredible, incredible people like you. And I'm
Heart to
grateful to have
heart.
co-created this. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am rich for the whole of you. And I love it. And I freaking love it. Thank you so much. I'm sending you with a lots of love and I'll see you around. Thank
Yes,
you,
for
Amanda.
sure. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.